Hi guys! I am super excited about this DIY cake kit since we can't do in-person classes this year, but I figured this was the next best thing because this is one of my favorite cakes that I do, and I feel like it's really beginner friendly. Of course, if you're not used to working with piping tips, there can be a little bit of a beginner's little trial that you have to go through, but other than that, I really feel like this is a cake that most people can kind of knock out, and it's not that difficult. So let me go over some of the things that are included in your kit. We have our buttercream, and this is like a trial for me also, so if I don't have enough buttercream during all of this, I will make sure you guys have enough buttercream. So we have buttercream, we have our cute sprinkles, which are the bigger balls. If you have the colorful set, are going to be gumballs. The smaller balls will be sixlets, and then there's just other shapes of sprinkles that are just sprinkles. And there's like stars and hearts. And then we have the cake layers, our 3 piping tips, which are going to be the 1M, the star, and the petal tip. So it kind of gives you like that ruffle. And then an offset spatula and your cake board. And then that should be it. So you know what? As soon as you guys are ready, the beautiful thing about this is that you guys can go at your own speed. I know that I have kids right now. If they start yelling at me, I can luckily I can pause it. So if you guys have kids that are helping you, you can pause and then just continue on at your own pace, which is really nice. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to just kind of ignore me with the different buttercream over here. This is a different flavor than you guys are doing, but it'll be the same difference. So, all right, so I'm just gonna put a little dollop right in the middle of our cake board. Easy as that. And then we're going to take our biggest layer, and we're gonna set it on the bottom and kind of just gently press down so that way it's kind of just like the glue to the board. And then it kind of goes quick. So it's once you get the hang of it, it's actually a pretty quick cake to put together. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of go around in a circle, and you don't have to go all the way to the edge since we're going up. So kind of just start in maybe like ½ an inch in, and then started just going in with the buttercream, making a circle. And again, I'm making a different flavor, so just ignore me, but since you're just using one buttercream, you're just gonna go around in that circle. Okay, and then once you're ready for your second layer, you can go ahead and just stack her on top. And do you kind of see how the buttercream just barely touches the edge there as it pokes out? Of course, if there is buttercream along the edges, that's okay too, because you know, we can clean that up towards the end. And then you're just gonna go ahead and repeat, and then kind of make sure it's on straight and in the middle. So we are making a Christmas tree cake, so if it's like off to the side, obviously it's not gonna have that perfect shape going up. So let's make sure that it's in the center of our cake, and then make sure that it's just not like, sometimes the buttercream will be like up a little bit, or the cake will be like lopsided like this. So just kind of make sure that it's even like that. And then once you've done that, you can get started on the next thing. And see how quick that goes? It just goes in a swirl. And again, doing a different flavor, ignore me. All right, and again, next layer. And I'll dollop up here. And then again, we're gonna come in with our next layer. And see how it's already kind of starting to take shape? I just love it. And then our nice little layers. And actually, when you guys are working with these layers, you'll kind of see that, so these are actually baked in a cupcake tin, which is super cool. So these are the mini cupcake tins, and these are the standard size cupcake tin. So you can kind of see that it has kind of like this shape. So it gets bigger on top like a normal cupcake. It goes like this. So when we put those layers on for the cupcake layers, so these layers are fine, but when you get to these layers, make sure that the smaller end of the cupcake or the cake layer is on the top. So as you can kind of see here, this is the top, this is the bottom, and then we're gonna just put it like this, because that way it'll give us that kind of arch shape to it. Look at that. I mean, seriously, how quick was that? I don't even know how many minutes we're into this, but, and so right now, what you can do is you can kind of see, okay, this is what my cake is gonna look like. This is kind of the shape of what we're going for. So if you see like maybe your cake layer is off a little bit to the side, you can kind of just gently start making sure that everything's in the center and kind of do a 1/over on it. And then what you're gonna do now, again, I'm doing a different buttercream, don't freak out. I'm gonna kind of just go along the bases of my layers. So right there I did a base. I'm gonna do one along the bottom. I'll do one right here. And again, I'll just keep doing this. And you don't wanna put like too much, like just enough. Because right now I'm not gonna cover this cake, I'm just gonna give it a crumb coat. Okay, and so what you have here is the beginnings of your crumb coat. And so because the layers are just put together, so they kind of will wobble a little bit. So what I like to do is I kind of just push it up gently at first, because you don't want the cake sliding everywhere. So I'm gonna kind of just gently push it, because none of this is gonna matter when we are piping the outer look. You're not gonna be able to see any of this. So I'm kind of just going in, kind of just going up. And this is just to set our cake layers. And that way you just can't see any of your cake underneath when you do any piping. Sometimes there's little bits that seep through, but you guys will either have the green or the pink. So if you guys have that showing through a little bit on the layers, it's not gonna really matter. So if I see some areas where I need more, I'll kind of just spot fill it. So I'll just fill in a little bit there and a little bit there. And see how we're kind of we're getting our shape, we're getting it covered. So I'm just gonna do that. And as you get to the top, it can get wiggly. So I'm just gonna gently push up. And again, it's weird doing this on camera because you guys, I have to show you guys from the front view. But as you can see, we're getting our shape. I'm just kind of pushing it up gently. And if I see like right here, I know you may not be able to see that well, but there's an area here that's like kind of concaved, and I'm just gonna go ahead and fill that in right there. See, look at that. It's not concave anymore. And you don't push hard on this. You don't need to push hard. I know a lot of my beginners basically tear up the cake with the spatula as they're doing this. And you know what? You can just be very gentle. See how gentle that is? And I'm kind of just working it up. And see here, it's kind of a little bit concave. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more buttercream right there, just so I can nicely point it up or guide it upwards to have that nice shape. Look at that. Okay, honestly, if you see any other spots that you feel like you need to come into, so right here it's a little bit more, I want to give that kind of more of a nice angled arch, and I'm not seeing it too much because of my cake layers, which isn't a big deal because I'm just going to come in here with a little bit more buttercream. I'm just going to gently do it on top as well. just making sure that that cake layer's covered with buttercream. Alrighty, and again, like I said, this part doesn't have to be pretty because this isn't our pretty layer. This is just making our shape, giving our foundation, and building up our cake shape. So again, I had some little areas I'm just kind of wanting to fill in a little bit. And then the magic of this right now, so I'm just gonna kind of clean up the edges, but you do not need to do this if you do not want to. I'm just kind of cleaning it up a little bit because I had some excess. So if you do want to clean it up a little bit because you have some buildup over here on the edges, you can kind of just go like this and then get like a cup or something. So I'll just use this cup, good old Dickies cup. They come in handy for something, right? And I'm just gonna take my edges, I'm just gonna go like this. This is really difficult being left-handed. So I'm just gonna kind of go like this, I guess. Let me go. Just very gently along the edges. Again, it does not have to be perfect, but you'll notice I do have some buttercream on the edge, and I'm just gonna scrape that off here. And again, I'm not scraping, I'm not pushing, I'm not pulling, I'm not digging. I'm angling it when I do this, just to kind of get the edge of the spatula, because I don't want to take off a bunch. That's not my point here. I'm just cleaning up the excess parts. So I'm just kind of angling it. Again, I'm not like this. This isn't what I'm doing. It is angled like this. And then I'm just kind of going around and getting all that excess off. And I'm kind of doing that the same right here. I'll just go around and gently start from another layer. And you know what? I'm actually just gonna stop there because there's really no reason for me to continue going on. So here's my trick for everybody who's working with buttercream and doing cakes. The fridge is literally your best friend. There are so many people, how do you get so many cakes done during the weekend? How do you make frost 10 cakes at a time? Well, this is what you do. You crumb coat them all first, and then you're gonna put them in the fridge and let the buttercream harden until you're ready to do your final decorations. Now, this is not gonna take very long. I'm probably gonna let this sit in the fridge for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then by then our buttercream will have hardened and we will be ready to do our final piping and decorations for that. So look how easy that was. So this is just our crumb coat. Use your fridge, utilize your fridge. I'm telling you, it is your best friend when you are baking, or I should say decorating. So right now I'm just gonna pop this in the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes. We're gonna take it out and then we're gonna get started on the next part. Our cake has become nice and chilled and we're ready to start the fun part, or the most stressful part for some. Okay, so I've given you guys some piping bags. I've given you guys these bags and then I have these bags separately. Now normally you would use a coupler or coupler, whatever you want to call them, C-O-U-P-L-E-R. It allows you to switch piping bags when you are dealing with the same color, but you can have the same bag and everything. It'll just, all you have to do is unscrew the tip. However, since we have two different sizes, that doesn't really work for couplers. So what I'm gonna do, now this is important. Here we have the 1M piping tip. You're gonna wanna put your piping tip up to the bag and then cut right at the end, maybe a little bit further than the end of the little points. This is because if you cut the piping bag too big down here, then you won't be able to use this tip anymore. The tip will just slide right through and then you'll kind of be screwed. So please pay attention to that, that's very important. So put the piping tip up to your bag, and then you're gonna cut right below those pointed edges because you want the pointed edges to be poking through. So I'm gonna do that right now. I have my trash can over here, so. Okay, so let's see how I did. Knowing me, I probably messed it up. Okay. Oh, so I just need a little bit more. So I just put it through and it's still kind of showing. The piping bag is still over the ruffly part. So we want to take that out, and I'm going to fix it just a little bit. So I'm just barely going to cut. All right, now we're good. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my piping bags. I have it nice and twisted at the edge. If you guys have a rubber band or something to help you hold the bag, that might help you in the beginning, and you can kind of tie it around the ends. Maybe I'll include that in the kit. I haven't decided, but I'll let you guys. You guys will find out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut pretty much the same where we cut the piping bag before. So this one doesn't really matter as much. But we do want a big enough hole so that way it is able to flow freely out into the tip and without being too little. So if you cut this too little, I'll show you guys what that looks like actually. So say I'm just gonna cut, I just cut like barely, I think 1/4 of an inch off. Okay, let's see what this looks like. So actually what happens is this will start poking through to the other tip. So you can actually see, I don't know if this camera is going to show it as much as I'd like it to. I don't know if you can see, but if you look inside of the tip, you can see the bag is through, and you don't want that. So you want to cut it a little bit more. You don't want to see any bag when you put your piping bag in. So I'm going to cut, I want to say a good amount off. So I'm going to cut it maybe 1 inch off. So that's much. That much, so you can compare it to my fingertip. This is how wide it is. Very precise
measurements.
Okay, so I grabbed my 1M tip first. That is the first tip that we're going to use because this allows us to build up a cute, fun little design. If you want to do all 1Ms, go for it. But this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to squeeze. I hold it at the very end, twisting the bag several times. I have it twisted probably 7 or 8 times, pretty much just so you have it nice and tight at the end. I have a very good grip on it. So I have my fingers around the edge of that twist, and the rest of my hand is around the bigger part of the bag. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze. You're gonna give a gentle amount of pressure. So you could even take a plate. Let's get a plain plate here, and you can test out a couple. So I'm gonna gently squeeze, and I'm gonna go around in a circle, and I'm gonna kind of gently overlap, bringing it up. And as I taper to the end, I'm gonna gently let go as I'm pulling off. This sounds way more confusing than it actually is. And once you guys get the hang of it, you guys will be like, okay, this is a lot more confusing than it sounds, or it sounds more confusing than it is. I can't even speak. So then now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start going on our cake. So I'm gonna start on the bottom, and I'm gonna gently go around. I'm still giving a good amount of pressure. I'm letting go right now, and I'm just dragging it off. Then I'm gonna give it some space, maybe 1 inch. Let's do 1 inch, and then I'm gonna do it again. And I'm not touching the cake. I'm letting go right now and pulling off. Let's do it again. And then letting go right now, pulling away. And you can actually make your rosette smaller. So I'll do a smaller one. I'm not touching the cake. I'm maybe 1/4 of an inch away. Could stop right there. Could stop there. And then I'm coming back around. I'm gonna do one right here in the middle. And then I'm letting go right now, and I'm just pulling away. So look at that. Might look a little oblong because I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is in between every one of the rosettes we did, they're called rosettes, I'm gonna go in, and I'm gonna do it taller. I'm gonna do the next row up. I'm gonna go in between those two, and then I'm gonna do it again. And these ones are a little bit smaller because I do wanna make room. So I am in between those two, and then I'm gonna be in between these two. So your spacing will be a little bit smaller. And then as we get to like the top, I'm just gonna do like maybe 1. like maybe find the front of your cake that you like the best and then just kind of do it right there. Cause right there, like look at that, boom, looks great. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this bag out. And if you're still using the same size tip, then you can change bags or change tips and still use the same bag. So that's kind of why I did the separate bag. So you can still use this bag if your tip is the same size. So these ones are the same size. The petal, this is called like a flower petal tip. And I'm gonna just drop that one in. We still have a good amount of buttercream in this bag, so I'm just gonna dump that back in. And I'm gonna twist it again. I'm twisting maybe 3 or 4 times, making sure it's nice and tight. My fingers are around the twist, and my palm is resting around the biggest part of the bag. Now with the flower tip, we're gonna angle this. So what it's going to look like when we do our little edges, I'm gonna do little edges around our rosette. So we want the bigger end to be facing down. So look, here's my piping tip. The big end is at the bottom. We're gonna angle it just like this. And then we're gonna kind of shimmy it around the rosette. I hope that makes sense. I really do. So I'll kind of show you again what that looks like. My tip, the big end, is kind of at an angle with the rosette. So I'll try to do it again on here. It's better if I can show you on here, I guess. Okay, not touching the cake, but I'm gonna gently go in around that rosette. And they don't have to be perfect. So now, once you guys kind of have that gist going, so look at that. You can already kind of see your shapes taking, your cake taking shape, excuse me. So now you're gonna take your second piping bag, the second empty piping bag, and you're going to do the same thing that you did for the first one. You're gonna see where your points stop, and then you're going to cut. So I'm gonna cut probably right about there, because remember, if we cut any bigger than this bottom, it will fall right through, and we do not want that. So we're going to do that right now. And then the next part is like super easy actually. So basically we're just gonna fill in anywhere that we don't see buttercream. So we're just gonna basically fill in all the areas that aren't filled in yet. So I'm gonna, and you can mess around with different sizes. So I'm gonna do like a bigger one here, a bigger one there, and I'll do like a small one there, a small one there. And gonna kind of just fill it in. And you can even do like another rosette here. Well, I'm just gonna call it a rosette, but just like a little swirl if you want. And then I'll do a little one there. So basically anywhere where you see that there's a space, I'll do a big one there. And little ones around it. Just gives it some dimension. Look at that, how fun is that? I'm just gonna kind of go in there, give it that little more of a shape. Look at that. How great is that? We are pretty much done. But now the part that gets tedious is the sprinkles, which I'm super excited about. I think they're fun, and if you have kids with you and you trust them enough, you can kind of have them help. So I actually am gonna throw in a couple little snowflakes because I thought that would be fun. And you know what? Maybe we should do that last because the toppers, that's like, that goes on last. Okay, so I'm just gonna gently pour this out onto a plate. I'm gonna set this aside. And then, so I'm gonna do like a kind of a cascading garland, but you don't have to do that. That kind of does take a while. But if you want, you can kind of just space them out in different spots. So one of my students last year, they did it in everywhere but the rosettes. So it kind of just looked like really nicely spaced out because the rosettes are already kind of perfectly spaced out for you so that everything in between it looked nice and even. But I am gonna do the garland. And so I'm gonna start at the top and I'll come back over here because I feel like it's always just an easier way. So remember, find your front. That's gonna be like my thing, find my front. Okay, I actually really love this. Okay, this is perfect. So I'm going to find my front and I'm just gonna I'm gonna start not at the very top because we wanna put our star there, but I'm gonna start towards the side of the top. And I'm gonna kind of go in and I'm gonna do different colors. And I'm gonna kind of just go down and around. And I really like the sixlets and the gumballs because they actually are perfect to like handle. And I do have hearts. Throw a heart in there. Oop. See, look at that. Do like a gumball here. I'll do more gumballs as I get closer to the bottom, but I don't want to overstuff the top yet. And here we go. I'm gonna start moving my way down. I try not to do two colors, but of the same next to each other, because that's just the OCD in me, but who cares really? And see how we're kind of already starting to get that swirl going? Okay, I'm gonna put a gumball here. Seems like a good time. Okay, so I think I decided my front would be like right here. And then you have your little cookie star. This is a sugar cookie with a little bit of gold spray. I'm just gonna set her on top. Oh my gosh. Oh, it gets cuter. I just love it so much. Okay, so I'm just gonna find, again, you don't have to use these, but I'm just gonna kind of, I thought they would be cute. I just love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. I wasn't sure about those, but I figured if you guys don't want to use them, you don't have to, but I mean, at least you guys can see what they look like with them. So there it is, you guys. It's all finished. And my video was a lot longer than I thought it would be. I was worried it wasn't going to be long enough, but we definitely made it long. I probably will skip forward in some areas so you guys don't have to watch me putting the balls on and listen to my jibber jabber. But there we go. You guys, Merry Christmas, and make sure to tag me because I want to see your picture. I just genuinely love this. It's so fun. And like I said, your cake has a back now because you put the snowflakes on the front. But you guys, thank you so much for purchasing this from me and wanting me to be a part of your little holiday cheer. I hope that I could do that for you guys, and I hope that you guys all have a beautiful Christmas, and I hope you guys enjoy the cake. And another tip for when you want to cut the cake. So this cake will probably serve, I want to say 8 to 12. It's like a weird shaped cake, so I mean, it's kind of just up in the air. But what I like to do first, I know your beautiful creation. You're not gonna wanna cut into it. I cut up here. I'll cut like this part of the cake off first, and then you can do like your normal slices. But if you guys have any questions while you guys are doing this, I hope that I answered everything. But if I didn't, just feel free to message me. Hopefully I see it in time while you guys are doing this. But other than that, I hope you guys have a beautiful holiday, and thank you so much.